Anyway, let's get started. Sorry about that. I didn't realize how much time had passed. All right, let's jump into it today. So making sure that's all working. Yep, cool. I want to have a look at internationalization today. I finally said it. Yeah. Yeah, the idea being is we do actually have a ticket on the Kanban board being like, can we actually translate NearBeach? And how hard will that process be? So if we have a look at the Kanban information too, we scroll all the way down, because it's all the way down here. We have, we've got that, which we're doing. Look at metrics, no, translate the application. So I'll just do that so you guys can actually see. Yeah, we're just looking at how we can do it, how it's achievable, and how it'll actually affect the system, and so forth like that. Another thing we've just got to keep in our mind is how much does it add to the system? Like, is it going to be plausible where the translations are only going to add in a little bit of data for everyone? And yeah, we're just researching. All right, going into here, we're going to zoom in. We're going to go straight to the getting started. So we want to create a global application with Vue, with the Vue i18n. Is just what they're saying. It's dead simple. With VueJS, we are already composing our application with components. When adding the Vue i18n to the mix, all we need to do is ready resource messages and simply use localization API that offered with the Vue. All right, cool. Yeah, we're familiar with Vue. You don't need to be a Vue expert, but may occasionally need to refer back to the Vue documentation. All right, cool. That's easy done. We're going to consider this example. Ooh, stack blizz. All right, cool. We're opening up something. My nose sucks. All right, so we've got konnichiwa. I don't know the kanji for that. I know that, but I just don't know what that stands for. So we've got Japanese and we've got English, and we've got the fallback being English. We've got the local being Japanese. I'm just wondering if there is... Oh, they don't have a switcher, do they? No. But that's fine. I wonder if they're... No. Yeah, so it's going to be set up like that. And then... all right, cool. We can leave that page. All right. So we're looking at the app view. So yeah, we've got a simple template and we've got the message.hello. So that's been passed through. I'm assuming the $T will be referencing the template, sorry, the translations. So in the template we use $T translation API injected with the Vue internationalization I can never get this. Internationalization. I can never say it. I can never say it. I have to stop and say it. To localize. This allows a Vue internationalization to change the local without rewriting the template. Also to be able to support the global application. You'll have the following output. All right, cool, yeah. Let's how to achieve that in the JavaScript. So the i18n instance is created by calling the following function. So we got this create function. We got the local being Japanese. We got the fallback local being English, and then we've got essentially everything in there that we've got the message and so forth like that. All right, cool. We can specify options for that. The import options are the local, fallback, local, and message options. Yep, local is the language of the Vue application localized. Sweet. We need to figure out how that's going to be set up for the user. For example, if the user logs in for the first time, it might default to English, and how do we get the user to change their language? So yeah, we just got to think about that. The fallback local is language. Yep, all right, cool. Messages is the local language. All right, cool. Yeah, easy. Registering the international plugin. Once we create the international instance, we need to register the plugin with the user application. All right, cool. So, yep. That's pretty easy. If we actually go back to that example and we go into the app view. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. Main one. Yeah, we just import it like that. We create it and then we, yep, use that. And then we've got the app view, yep. All right, so I'm just giving Socks a little butt rub there. All right, oops, wrong page. I'm just gonna close that one, that's fine. So yeah, like most Vue plugins, use needs to happen before the call to mount. Yep, all right, cool. If you're curious about what the plugin does, some of its responsibilities include adding the global properties such as T and I18N, enabling use I18N composables, globally registering the I18NT, I18ND, and I18NN components, which at the moment I don't know what they do. And G Bound, how are you going today? Hopefully you're going well. Just gotta move Socks' tail. Yeah, Socks, your tail keeps getting in the way. All right, conventions in this guide. Single file components. All right, cool. Vue is a most commonly used application built using a bundler. Yep, cool. And SFC, so single file components. Most of the examples in this guide will be written in that style, but Vue I18N doesn't require you to build tools or... Yep, all right, cool. For example, if you're using a global build of Vue and Vue internalization, the libraries are exposed via global objects rather than imports. Sweet. Okay, cool. Components API style can be used with both composition and the options API where relevant. The examples in this guide will show components written in both styles. Composition API examples are typically given in the setup script setup rather than the setup function. All right, cool. If you need a refresher, we don't need a refresher. We're quite familiar with it. The Vue I18N works with both Vue compositional API and option. Oh yeah, we just read that. It's set up there. It's just like API styles like has two API styles like Vue. All right, cool. Yeah, all right, so far, that's good. Trying out React with JavaScript and Vite and Redux and Express Mongoose. Ooh, nice. Fair enough. How was the setup of it? I'm assuming, did you use Vite to set up the React environment? Or Vite, or however you say it. Follow the section will, all right, cool. Okay. I'm just going to go through the installation process first. We're just going to copy this. We're going to bump over here. We're just going to stop that. We're going to cancel that. There we go. All right, so it's installed. When using the module system, you must explicitly install via app use. All right, easy done. Yeah, we'll go back to the getting started. We don't need the direct download or anything like that. We are wanting to use version 11. I don't know what version I installed. Oh yeah, we are. Cool, sweet. No, I just followed some docs and tutorials. Went okay, I guess. Oh, fair enough. Well, if you got something up and running, it went well. So, yeah. And then you just had to play with it. Now, I haven't used Express Mongoose before. I've heard of it. Okay. Yeah, I just haven't used it before. All right, getting started. All right, message from format syntax, interpolations, support interpolation placeholders as mustache, naming it. All right, cool. All right. Okay, yep. Right, that's how that's actually a good thing I read this. I was thinking, how can we translate the object names and so forth like that later on? So yeah, no, that's a good thing that we can pass things through. And I like the Redux thing too. Didn't think it would. I would like. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, const message equals. Yep. All right, cool. He's done. Okay. Oh. All right. We'll come back to a lot of this pluralization. To localize the message, you may need to support pluralization for some languages. You'll need to be able to use translation API that has pluralization feature, basic usage. You need to define the local message. You'll have a pipe, separate it, and define the plurals and the pipe separate. Okay. Cool. Okay. Cause now I don't think I will translate the routes. The reason being, it does make it a little bit harder to do stuff. And Samed, welcome. How are you going? Hopefully going well. Yeah, no, I don't think dealing with route translation is a smart idea. So, yeah. Okay. A bit of a yawn. Anyway, let's get back to the getting started. What we kind of want to do, I'm just going to copy this. We're going to go over, we're going to close all tabs. We're fine with that. We're going to minimize this. We're going to open up this. We're going to open up source, the app itself. No, definitely not the app. Oh no, the app, yeah, this is the app. I want to open up main, that's what I want. Alright, and then what we want to do, internationalization is going to go up here. We're just going to paste that in for the moment. It's going to get me to do the minified JSON stuff. We just want to go import. That will be create. Yes, from there. Sweet, that all works. And then we've got to use it. Like that. So if we go down here, yeah, they got it like that before they mount. And after they create that. All right, sweet. Let's see this work in action. What I want to do, I am just going to open up. I'm going to keep that one open. I'm going to go to components. I'm going to go into search. I'm going to open up search. I'm going to put that off to the right. Then in the search itself, we're going to scroll down here and we're just going to put in Actually, we'll put it there. I'm gonna do that $T dot now. Might as well view what they've got. They've got it like that. You know, I'm just gonna go here. It's all right, cool. So it's going into the message and then not hello. Okay, yep. Let's have a look at what this does. So I just need to go into any of these search and then, yeah, you got konnichiwa. I don't know what those kanji say. But I know that says konnichiwa. All right. Now the thing is, another thing which I want to also do is I want to be able to set it so if the user changes their language, it instantly changes everything for them. That's just going to help with people. So for example, if you get stuck on a language and you click something else, you can see it instantly change and you're like, all right, sweet. You just, yeah, then you just find your own. All right, so the next thing we want to have a look at is, we've got that down. So pluralization, message format. Now, I want to try this a little bit better. So this is where we're going to bring up translate.google because I don't know these words. I'm going to say project. Projecto. All right. I mean, cool. We're going to bring this main one back over here so you guys can see what I'm doing. In the English, what we're going to do is we're just going to have project. And it's just going to be project, which we're happy with. I don't know if this works. This is what we're just playing around at the moment. With this, all right. We're going to go project, and we're just going to paste in that. Now we're going to go into the search. Now, you'll notice you're currently stuck on the route and then we're passing through the route place. If we go in here, we can see the route like that. What if I wanted to have something like request for change or so forth? That would be awesome to have that come through. Once again, we could extend the objects and so forth like that. Sorry, we could extend the route object, pass that information down. Now, last episode we were talking about doing that, but we figured out we didn't need that when dealing with the menu itself. That being said, if we need it elsewhere and it becomes really, really tricky to do all of this, then yeah, we would implement it. Now, yeah, sorry, I'm just giving a little think, being like, should I do that now? Make my life a lot easier. And then implement that change. Potentially. Oh, there's another bug with this project thing. So I know there's another bug. I tried this on mobile the other day. Let me just fix this up. On mobile, when you click on the menu, it's meant to shut the nav bar because you've got such limited real estate. You kind of want to show that the user, your page is loaded. So when they click on project, it's meant to close. When you click on the new project with the plus symbol, it just stays open. That is a bug. I need to fix that now. That would be part of the nav bar. That will be a menu item. So when we create a new item, we just need to add in the v-on click. I'm also wondering, we're pulling that down through the props, and I'm just wondering if we should move this up into here. Could be something that we do. I best ask someone who's better at accessibility than I am. Alright, so here we are. I just want to test this debug very, very quickly because I just fixed it. Let's go right down to iPhone. So we've got a new project. Boom. Alright, that's what I wanted. I want to do that. I want to do that. Okay, cool. So if we go into the Kanban board, it instantly says it is that. What I want to do is yeah, I'm thinking more and more that I'm going to need to pass down an extra attribute. Just for these extra sort of search pages and stuff like that. Because we're searching for project, we kind of want to have this all translated. So I could accessibility, but I found that the tools really help, especially, definitely helps. And that the browser stack with the screen reader was actually quite wonderful too. So yeah, definitely going to be using that again. So yeah, and hopefully on stream too. So yeah, we find issues and we'll just start reporting them. Where am I? I'm thinking about the routing at the moment. So the one problem is with these routes, I can't put any extra attributes in there. However, what I could potentially do is extend the create router functionality potentially, where then I can extend the routes within it and add in the fields that I require. Might be too much work. It might be a better way of doing that. So what we're going to do, view router extra attributes for routes. Let's see if someone's thought of it. Route meta field. Ooh. So if they've already got something built into place, I'm going to prefer doing that because it's a lot less work for me and it means it'll be supported. Sometimes you might want to attach arbitrary information to routes like transition names or roles to control who can access the role, etc. This can be achieved through meta properties which accept an object property and can be accessed on the route location and navigation guards. And that's one other thing which we've got to do is we've got to implement navigation guards. Just so if a user knows how to get to the settings, they just can't. you can find meta properties like this. So we've got the routes, we've got the there's our thing. So we've got the pose, complement, we've got the children. Ah, it's just meta. Oh, they've done it like this. Okay, I kind of like that. But it does mean that we change our search functionality, how it works. Actually, that's fine. It doesn't matter if we change the search functionality. So at the moment, what will actually happen, and once again, this is up for discussion, so someone can come in and be like, no, don't do it like that. Is you can go in here and you might click on requirement. It'll actually bring up the search requirement stuff. That way you can pick from here, and then if you click on that, then you get the new one. Instead of just clicking on this and going directly to new, it's more direct that you can do a search. And that's how I like it at the moment. I definitely don't want to go directly to new if someone clicks on that. Because that's why we've got the separate button. All right. So I'm just getting distracted. Don't mind me. If I can have it so we've got children path. Oh, I kind of want to implement this to see if it'll work. If we have the path being nothing, then it goes to the search. If we have it as new, it goes to the new. If it has an ID, we go to the ID. Let's test it. Let's do this first. All right, and then at the same time we can implement the meta and figure out if that will work. So going back into the routes, what we've got is the routes in here. We've got the fallback page over here. We're all happy and fine with that. So what I want to do is I want to separate these out like so. Now I'm just going to comment out those two lines. That's perfectly fine. What we want to do is we want to have children, and I think it is an array of objects, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to actually nab both of those. I'm going to put them in here like this. We're going to do that, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove everything from here. I'm doing this with the dashboard. Shoot. My bad. Alright. This will be path. Project. Component. Now it won't be a new project, it'll actually be search. But then we got the search destination down there. That'll be fine. That's going to be fine. Once again, we'll play around with all of this. I am just going to post those very, very quickly. Actually, no, undo. Sorry, that was meant to be in here. I'll post those very, very quickly. So we've got the new project. We'll then have, this will be name, and this will be project search. Keeping it very, very simple. We then, oops. I know socks. I'll come here. No, you're just staring at a blank wall. There's nothing there. It's just a blank wall. Socks is going crazy. Or is it me who's going crazy? And Hansel Dev, how are you going? Yeah, I'm doing good today. we've just stumbled across something. I've noticed that this one has children in the path and stuff like that. I'm like, is that something better for me to use? Should I use that instead? So we're just playing around with it to see if it'll actually do what we want to do. So yeah. All right, we are now going to go to the nav menu. In here, we've got the dashboard. We won't edit any of the other ones just yet. Once again, we're just dealing with the very the basic sort of one. So we've got the route here, like this and all that kind of stuff. So we're happy with it being like that. So that'll be the route. And this also makes it very generic for us, which is even better, because then I can just loop through the objects, object permissions. Yeah, I'm liking this. All right. Let's play around. Let's just reload things. Let's see if we click on that. Search all objects. All right, cool. And then when we click, boom, new object. And then if we do an ID1, we don't actually have anything there yet. We haven't actually programmed for that one particular case yet because we haven't actually designed anything outside the nav bar. But I like that a lot better. So yes, that means if someone clicks on this, boom. And then if we go into the main, the routes itself, where did I put routes? I don't know where. I just have it as index.ts. Oops, I really should rename that to routes.ts. All right, so in here, I'm just wondering if the child objects take the parent's meta too. I really like the inu your face. That's what I think socks look like sometimes. Oh, sweetie, come on. I'm connected to the headset, so you gotta be nice. Say hi, socks. She's like, no, I don't want to say anything. All right, cool. Go over there. So she's actually been really good today. She hasn't sat on my keyboard or mouse once today. However, now that I've just said that, she probably will. So it requires auth true, but what other meta properties do we have? So can I put anything in here? So if I put in destination and we go project, will that work? And will it complain? Who knows? So what I want to do on the search, so we're down here, we've got the function, to title case, replace, delete, all of that. Yep, that's perfectly fine. And hi, good guy, how are you going? Hopefully you're going well. Welcome, welcome. I do hope you are enjoying my stream. I'm just going to console log, and we're just going to go route, and we're just going to go route. Nothing extraordinary there. Just a new subscriber. Thank you very much for this subscribe. So yeah, I hope you are enjoying my content as we figure all of this out, because I've never played around with view routing before. All right, I'm just going to hit enter. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the console. I'll bring this over to the left in a second. There we go. So we've got our route when the page initially loaded. We're on the project already. If we hit the target, down here, we've got full path. We all know that, the project, the hash, the array, the, oh, we do. All right, cool. So this is actually going to make our life a lot easier, but now that's for the top level. If I remove all of that and I click on the new one, oh, let's see where we're going. So we've got the meta, and we do have the destination project. Sweet. Now, we haven't programmed this anywhere else. If we click on task, we shouldn't see anything like that. So we have meta as an empty object. Sweet. All right, cool. So that's how we're going to tackle this problem. We're going to actually use the routes to actually inform the body what destination it is at, and or what object it is looking at. So whether it's a project, task, and so forth like that. So yeah, I am glad for that. Which also probably means we could probably get rid of this. Because this is to title case. Oh, it's that. It's getting the destination and all that kind of stuff. It means we can simplify that. Drastically simplify it. And I like that idea. I really do like that idea. It also means we've got to do a translation. But that's perfectly fine. What I want to do is I'm just going to copy this, and I am going to do something like that. I just want to see if this breaks something. It's just message.goodbye. All right, so it falls back. Even if I do a refresh, yeah, it just falls back. All right, give me 2 secs. So yeah, that message.goodbye just does a fallback to that. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just thinking with my newfound knowledge, I dropped the ball again. What problems will that tackle, and what problems am I already trying to do the long way? But yeah. Let's go back into here. So that's the wrong one, this one, sorry. So with the dashboard, what we also want is we want meta, and in here we'll type in destination and we'll have dashboard. We're happy with that. This we're happy with the project. Everything else just falls onto this search, which is not what we want now. And then we've got the search all, which for the moment we won't need. I'll remove those. That is perfectly fine. It does mean that we are breaking some stuff in the system at the moment, so we might as well key in all these other components. So I want the nav menu over there. I'm just going top to bottom to make sure I've got everything. So we'll have Kanban board for that, and then that will be component. That will be search by default. And then we'll have the name Kanban search. Cool. We'll have the meta. We'll have the destination Kanban board, and then we'll have some children. We'll have the path new component. Now we haven't set up any of these components at the moment, so we're going to fall back onto Kanban board. Like so. What I want to do, copy that, paste it in. Yeah, we're just going to leave it like that. I think that's fair enough. We're going to copy this little pattern. And yeah, that should work wonders. We only need to worry about what we have, what was over here. So we've got the dashboard, we've done the Kanban board. We need to do the requirement task and request for change. So what I want to do, 35 to 47, that's 12. I want to move down by 12. I want to paste that again. 1, 2, 3. This isn't going to be in any order whatsoever. So we've got Kanban board, and then what did I say? Requirement. This would be requirement. Destination would be requirement. New would be all that kind of stuff. And once again, when I do this for real, we'll set this up properly, and I might learn a couple more things so we can make this generic. So this is now task. So we're done requirement, task and request for change. Done, and going through there like that. And then request for change. Like so. Request for change search. All right, cool. Oops. Destination, request for change. And then that will be new request for change. Oh, I don't know what buttons I pressed then to do that, but that was annoying. All right, cool. So that should be everything at the moment over here. It does mean dashboard. Those don't work, but that's fine. That one does work. Requirements. It's because we're still going to search requirements, but that's fine. We're getting rid of that functional. We're getting rid of that pattern at the moment. All right, cool. And if we just sweet. All right. Now, grammar's going to be a weird thing. So, depending on the language, depends on a bunch of things. What I mean is grammar. So we say search for projects. We don't go projects. We could potentially say project search. In this sort of case, in the Japanese, it's essentially going project o kensaku, which just means project search. So you got that grammatical problem, and if I go into, let's say that one, I don't know which one's what. At least with this one it's easy because that's a borrowed word. I could do layers of translation. So if we, I'm going to close that. We're finished with that. We're going to keep this one open. I believe I'm finished with this at the moment. Oops, socks. I got to figure out how we can do this. Yeah, this is running. It's not much. This is just the mock-up. So what I'm trying to do is try and figure out the best way of how I want to translate this application. We're doing it in a mock-up because that way I can play around with it very, very quickly. And it doesn't really matter. I'm not playing around with the main environment or anything like that. So instead of having something like search all objects, you might want to actually have that, like, for example, search projects, search Kanban board, depending which one you're on over here, as opposed to when you click on the new. Oh, that's not going to the project new. I'm going to fix that very, very quickly. It's because it's got to be like that. No. Yeah, I've got it set to new project. Oh, it's going to annoy me. Yeah. But I keep bumping into things which are broken because I break them. And now I've got to figure out why. So they've got it like that. All right, cool. So yeah, I got it like that. Yep. And then they've got that like that. So children, path new, component, new project. All right, cool. That should work. So we're using this router. Doing tooltips in Vue as well, mouse over events. I don't know yet, maybe. I do know that I have got tooltips on the sprint functionality at the moment. Mainly when you hover over the description, it'll bring up more of the description. Sorry, when you hover over the title, it'll bring up the description. So, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, through the redesign, we'll rethink that sort of process, whether we want to have it like that. All right, sometimes you might want to attach it. All right, I don't know why the child components aren't working. Let me bring up the nav menu. Not the item, sorry. They've still got it like that. Yeah, still like that. Oh, we can't really use toasts. So whenever you make a change or anything like that, in the bottom right, a toast will pop up. However, that's under review. Just because if you've got a wide screen like I do, you might hit, let's say, update or something like that. You might not notice that the toast has popped up in the bottom right. So yeah, all of this is under review. That being said, we've kind of got a lot of the framework there already to port it over to the new version. It's going to be pretty easy to do. There might be cases where we do want to keep the toasts there. It just means we've just got to style it and copy over the code and put it in Pinia. And then it's called exactly the same way. And that doesn't need to happen straight away. We might be just us porting over the UX for a moment and then translating it to Pinia in the future. You're going to jump? No? Or did you want a window? All right, there you go. All right, I don't know why it's not hitting the new route. Okay, no problem. Let's just Google VueJS, the Vue router, child routes, nested routes. All right. So some application UIs are composed of components that are nested multiple levels deep. In this case, it is very common that the segmented of URLs kind of respond to certain structure of nested components. For example, user joining profile, user joining posts, and so forth like that. All right, cool. Yeah. With Vue Router, you can express this relationship using nested routing configurations given the app in the last chapter. So we've got the route view, we've got the user view, and then import user, yep, path ID, yep, like that. All right. I've mistaken this. All right. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Note that the path start with will be treated as root paths. This allow you to leverage the component without having a nested URL. Okay. As you see, the children option is just another array like the routes itself. Yup, at this point in the above condition, when you visit user Eduardo, nothing will be rendered inside the user's router view because no nested route is matched. Maybe you do want to render something there. In such a case, all right, you might end up with an, yep, cool. Nested named routes. So when dealing with nested named routes, you usually name the child routes. All right, cool. So we've got path with user ID user. All right, notice how the child route has a name user. All right, cool. Component user home. This will ensure navigating to user ID will always display the nested route. All right, yep. This is kind of what we want. Omitting parent components. We can take advantage of the parent-child relationship between routes without needing to nest route components. This can be useful for grouping together routes with a complex path prefix or when working with more advanced features such as per route navigation, router meta fields. To achieve this, omit the component and components options from the parent route. All right, cool. We were close. We were close, but we learned something there. So yeah. This just means I've got to do something in here very, very quickly. We're just going to go path. We're just going to do something like that. We're going to do components. We're going to do search, and we're going to do name, and we're going to do search project. I'm just changing that a little bit. We're getting rid of that, and that should work. So if I copy that, I'm just going to change that. Kanban board, search requirement, search task, request for change, and then we can get rid of that. Easy. I'm just going to scroll up. It's going to make life easier. All right. So we go over here. We're just gonna reload this. Now we've got new project, then we've got project, requirement. Yeah, all of these work perfectly fine. I'm happy for that now. I'm also assuming the destination is inherited. So yeah, let's hope for the best. All right. I'm just going to put the routes over there. We've got our search in here. We're going to get rid of some of this. We're also going to get our main. We're going to put it over there for the moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these for the moment. Now, we could potentially put in translation for all the objects, which might be something that we have to do, or it might be something where with the translations we will have to get very granular and we can't have a generic sort of thing. So what I mean there is with the grammar, for example, we might say search for projects, and in Japanese is project search. So doing something generic like translating search and then project and putting them next to each search for project, putting them next to each other does not work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in search in here. We're going to open this up. We're going to have title. Going to have another object, and then we're going to do every single sort of, so we won't need it for dashboard, we'll need it for Kanban, requirement, project, task, and so forth like that. Kanban board. Now, ooh, this is best done like I don't want to put in here sorry, giving me a couple of seconds. If we're passing down in here it like that, that's going to be trouble translating it and so forth like that. Might put this in camel case. Like so, and then I've got to deal with problem is the API expects it to be snake case. I mean, worst case scenario, I can break this down into we've got destination and then we can pick which case and stuff like that. That is not hard to do or implement. It's annoying because it only really affects the ones that are made up of a couple of words. For example, request for change or Kanban boards. And the API uses snake case. We can use the destination to actually point. Yeah, I've got to undo all of that. Oh, whoop, whoop, whoop. No, I don't want to undo that. All right, so what do I mean? When we're dealing with this, we don't I don't want to have Kanban board in here, like so. It will work, that should be fine, but we've got the mismatch of cases. So we've got camel case up here, we've got snake case, I think that's snake case, give me a couple of seconds. Pulling up the image. Yeah, snake case, all right, cool, I'm not crazy. Yeah, I just, Oh no, all right, cool. No, they're doing it. They've got snake case in there. All right, no, not a problem. Sweet, we're going by that example. I'm just gonna go Kanban board, search for Kanban boards. We'll have, going back up to here, we'll have, yeah, requirement, search for requirements, easy done. We'll have project, search for projects, easy done. Tasks, search for tasks. Request for change, search for request for change. Alright. So I'm going to leave that one like that for the moment. In here, what we'll have is we'll have the search, we'll have once again the title. What we'll do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just grab all of those 5. I'm just pasting them in for the moment. And what I'm going to do, so we're just going to use Google Translate. The good news is, I know some people who speak Japanese, so I can always get this double checked, which is why I'm picking it as a language today. So I can get them to sort of go, this doesn't make sense. And I'll be like, all right, cool. Why did I just copy? So, all right, hang on. There we go. All right. Da-da-da. So we're just testing this out. What I want to do is I want to go back to the search. We've gotten rid of all of that. With the main title now, we do a bunch of stuff just to get the main title to sort of work, because we're like, oh, we don't know what destination we're on and all that kind of fun stuff. We could add on a default in here, which will just be search for object. All right, default, easy done. That's a just in case sort of scenario, and I think I'll make it fall back on English. We won't need to translate that because that should not occur. All right, going back into here, we are, we've just hit an ad break. I think I've missed a couple of ad breaks today. I do apologize for those on Twitch. I think I missed the first one and the second one. Yeah, for those on YouTube, we run ads every half an hour on Twitch to stop the pre-rolled ads, because the pre-rolled ads really do suck. And I tend to do this when that happens. So yeah, only goes for about 90 seconds. We can do a bunch of stuff. I can solve a Rubik's Cube. All right. Let's just. All right, we're going to go for white. talk about being slow today. There we go. How are we going? Well, we've got about 30 seconds left of the ads. I don't think I can get this in time. Oh, about 20 seconds now. Oh, yeah, I can get this. Oh, don't worry, there we go. 15 seconds left on the clock to spare. All right, about 5 seconds. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Let's get back into it. So yeah, I don't think we should program for default, but we shouldn't translate it to everything else because we don't expect it to actually happen. It was something you will test for. All right, so we've just done that. Now we got to go into the search. We're doing the main title. Now the problem is this is going to be one of those sort of cases where we don't know what the main title is going to be. The reason being is it could be anything in reality. So how can we actually do this? In the sense, we could use a computed element to make this dynamic, which probably will be the best way of doing this. Yes, what's the matter, Socks? No, you got nothing to say? Oh, come here. Are you going to say hi to everyone? Yeah, no, don't grab onto my jumper. Alright, so I'm going to leave in the main title up here. We no longer need this. Because we're translating the app itself. We've already built in the casing that we want. So we no longer need that. We no longer need the route. The only reason why we've got that is because it's down here where we're actually calling it in and stuff like that. I'm going to leave it in for the moment. Just because I might find it useful. And I might extend that out too. So we've got the main title. It's going to be a computed element. In this sort of case, we just change this. So all right, let's get all of that. I'm trying to remember how we did this before. Was the dot route? All right, just gonna do that. Actually, we won't need to change this. This will be const now. Destination, we know that's going to be a string equals route dot. This will be the meta. And then we want the destination. If it isn't anything, it will default. Like so. We no longer need to do that. By technicality, we won't need to do that. It'll be return, and I think it'll be $T. This is where we go back to this translation sort of stuff. I'm just scrolling up. Sock your tail's in the way. Sorry, sweetie. All right, $T. Oh, what? $T message hello. All right, cool. Oh, really? Oh, sweetie, what's the matter? Okay, $T. What we'll have is something in there, and we'll just return it. Now that is not working because we'll need this out the front, I think. Yeah. Oh, really, Socks? Oh, sweetie, what's the matter? She's not happy. Now. Okay. I'm just gonna delete that one line. Wait. Oh. what I want to do is I'm just going to return nothing at the moment. That's perfectly fine. We'll come back to it. I just want to do var a equals $t. And it's not coming up. All right. Even if I do a console log a, still not coming up. All right, this. I'm just going to copy this. What we're going to do, we're going to paste it in. We've got that. That's perfectly fine. We can get rid of all of that. We're quite happy with that destination. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go console log destination is destination. All right. So I'm happy with that. Yep. There we go. That stops that complaining, that stops that complaining, that stops that complaining. Why did I do this down here? It's because, and if I grab my index, that doesn't have my, I'm going to grab my main, I'm going to put it over there for reference, is if I get rid of a lot of this, and I just have something like, that will be search.title.kanban board, like so. That should all work. I'm just going to hit refresh. So we've got the destination as request for change, task, project. Oh, we didn't actually get default in record path. Project new is defined using alert right. All right, cool. I've just got a yellow text, which I've just got to fix up a little bit later. But these are working how we want it, so it's coming through like that. I'm just wondering if we can pull out the destination. So instead of having all of that, we'll just have const destination equals computed. We grab it from the route itself, so that will be return. That will be, and we're going to make sure that is a string. Actually, no, that won't be like that. Essentially, we'll grab this, paste it in, and we'll return destination. Don't need to worry about types here. I'm just over engineering something that doesn't need to be. That's it, all on one line. And down here, what we want to do is we want to go $T, and then I'm assuming backticks work perfectly fine here. We just go search.title. And then in here, we just go destination. And hopefully for the best that works. Boom. All right, cool. We've got the, that is the Kanban. I don't know what that kanji is, or something, I don't know. We've got the requirement, we've got this, we've got that, all right. So that's how I would tackle the titles and so forth like that. What? The thing is, we've got a lot of pages, and a lot of these pages will have different essentially fields on them and different descriptions and so forth like that. We'll also need to have different errors. Luckily for the errors, they can be very, very generic, like please fill filled out, field has to be an email, field has to be this or that, and so forth like that. Stuff we can fill out very, very easily. So, yeah. Okay. But at least we got the translations working, which is good. The next sort of thing I want to have a look at is, yeah, so we do have that ability where we can go, yeah, message equals that. So when we've got something like that, we can pass it through like that, which we will probably need, because if we have, for example, let's say the user wants to fill in a number in a field and stuff like that, we could have a maximum number and that could be a variable. So that's not going to be a problem. All right. Pluralization. Okay, you need to find the locals with the pipe separator. Yep, okay, cool. You've got all of that. These polarization selected by the logic choice rule for each language in the translate API. All right, cool. $T has some overloads about these. All right, cool. We won't worry about the overloads note. Some ways to support pluralization is inject globally built-in translation component. Export T from alert. All right, cool. So we've got one card to do. Okay. I don't see at the moment. I'm pluralizations, however, does not apply to all languages. Slavic language, for example, have different pluralization rules. To implement these rules, you pass an optional pluralization rule object into the. All right, cool. Very simplified example using rules. All right, cool. So, teen. All right. Alright. Oh, sorry about the big yawn. Daytime formatting. This is something that we will probably end up doing a lot. We'll stick with ISO formats for the moment, so year, month, day, day. However, we might put it into friendlier formats. That being said, if we do put it into friendlier formats, we'll need to sort of translate them too. So for example, what are we using? It's Luxon Internationalization. So we are going to probably use Luxon again. Let's go down here. Let's go internationalization of strings. So if I click on that, time zone delay. Not found. Set local. All right, like that. setting local. So yeah, I've just got to figure that out, but that is something that I want to sort of work on. Because there will be some cases where we want the friendly date to appear and not a date time picker. With the date time pickers, we'll probably, and we've got to design those. So yeah, we'll come back to those. All right, so date formatting, I'm going to skip that one. Number formatting, localize numbers with your definition formats. Good news is any number that we're using, won't be large enough. And what I mean there is we won't need to deal with currencies or anything like that. We won't need to deal with anything over 100 or so forth like that. We've only really got one number picker used on NearBeach, and that's just for the story points. So yeah, scope and local changes. Scope manages resources to offer alert features, including local switching. Each language message calls local messages in the name format, date time numbers that are managed with. Yep, all right, cool. So we've got the app, we've got the component, we've got local scope over there, local scope over there, we've got the global scope. All right, cool. Is built for some components of a tree structure to localize each component using the understand the. All right, cool. The global scope in Vue allows you to access and manage internalization resources across all components in your application. This is especially useful for centralizing internalization when you create internalization instances using create internalization. A global scope is automatically created. This global scope is tied to the Vue internalization instance, which can be accessed through the global property of the I18N instance. Essentially, the global scope refers to the Vue instance that is accessed by the. Yeah, all right, cool. If the internalization option is not specified in a component, the global scope is automatically enabled for that component. In this case, Vue internationalization instance access through the. All right, cool. Yep. Local scope. A local scope of Vue allows you to manage that resources per component basis, similar to how that works in a single file when a component has local scope. All right, sweet. We'll probably do it at local scope, and the reason being is each component will have its own translations. Putting them all in one giant file just doesn't make any sense. Considering we're also setting this up so that if the user doesn't need that component, it won't download it for them. And we kind of want to set that up for the language too, so it only downloads the language files that they need. There's not a lot of data being sent to them, but it'll help. All right. Sorry, just so far we've explained the concept of scope, and once you understand the scope, it's easy to understand. All right, cool. Global scope, if you want to change the local for the whole application, global scope allows you to use. All right, cool. Yep. Once again, we'll probably not. Template. All right. Yep. Okay, yep, we can change stuff around very, very quickly. I might add something up on the alright, the nav bar, the header, sorry. The above example uses the available locales property of that instance, lists available locales as options for selecting elements. Since $i18n.local is bound with v model, you can switch to the. Alright, cool. As you see, the global scope is useful because it allows you to switch the message slate. Yeah, all right, cool. Local scope is inherited from the global scope by default. Therefore, when you change the local in a global scope, the local in the local scope is also changed. Yep. If you want to switch the local for the whole application, you need to change it via the global property instance. All right, cool. Yep. Once again, we're probably going to go down to the local level. All right, fallbacking is using locals. If local is given a containing a territory, yep. All right. For example, would fall back. All right, cool. To suppress the automatic fallback, add a postfix exclamation mark. For example, all right, cool. Yep. We want it to fall back. All right, sometimes some items will not translate into other languages. In this example, the item hello is available in English but not Japanese. If you want to say English items when an item is not available, if your desired local, set fallback local option in the, yeah, we'll be doing that. So I think if we set that at the global, hopefully that will pass all the way down. Hopefully. Template. Output, yeah. Alright. By default, the fallback local generates 2 console warnings. Not found in the local message. Alright, yep. That's fine. The first warning message is printing the key due to not giving the translate. Yep, alright, cool. Yep, alright, sweet. To suppress the first warning, set silence, translate warning equals true in legacy mode. No, probably not. We'll probably not do that. Because the good thing is, if we run automatic tests, hopefully we can find these translation issues and fix them. All right, to suppress the second warning, all right. It is possible to set more than one fallback local. All right, cool. Moving on. All right. Language. Since the keys translation are strings, you can use user readable message for particular languages. All right, yep, that's fine. Oh. All right. That might be a better way of doing things. So we have the message in the array, the English one. We pass the English one through, it then falls back. But then we get all those errors. All right, yeah. Sorry, not errors, warnings. This is useful because you don't have to specify a translation string for hello world into English. Yeah, in fact, you can even include the template parameters together with the fallback message true. This lets you skip the writing templates for your base language. The keys are your templates. Yes. All right, cool. And then it'll just become hello name. Now in this sort of case, we still want to be able to translate the project. And once again, due to grammar and stuff like that, it might not, we might need to do something about that. Okay. But that's good to know that we can potentially do that. All right, local scope based localization, messages, global and local, yep, and general local. So local messages is set at the option of and set install with app use to sum up with the global transformation function. All right, cool. Sometimes it's necessary to localize per component while still managing the resources of local messages. In this case, it can be useful to localize each local scope using internationalization component option for the component instead of the global scale, which is what we'll end up doing. The following is an example of scope-based localization. All right, so that's a more of a React type of thing. Yeah, we won't be setting it up like that. Template. All right, hello world, component 1. Okay. Sometimes you may want to import shared local messages from certain components, not just fall back on messages from You can use shared messages options. Okay. Oh, that will work. Yeah, and then you just import it, and then you're like, all right, cool. Lazy loading. I loading all your localization files at once is overkill. I'm skipping a couple of things because I'm like, let's not look at them just yet. Let's actually see what we can do. Come back to those. Because once again, I'll end up reading the docs and be like, oh, I can implement that, now that I've tested this out and had more thought about how I wanted this to work. So, lazy loading, asynchronously loading the localization files is really easy when using a bundler. Let's assume you have a project directory similar to the following. So yeah, we've got everything set up like that. We've also got to think where we're going to put these files. So it might be the case of we include them all in one spot. The pages folder is where our arbitrary view component files like about and view router, and it's all right, cool. All right, so we'll have components, yep, initialization JavaScript, locals, which is all right, cool. It's where our arbitrary view components like about view router, init, all right, cool. The locals folder is where all of our localization files reside. All right, we might actually do that too, where we have just another folder structure that's similar. And in that, the functions for internationalization, related processes are defined as follows. So we've got the next tick, we've got the create, we've got the export, support locals, all of that, and we've just hit another ad break. All right, how's everyone going? We're slowly getting through this. So yeah, I'm just going to think about how we're going to set everything up. Because I've been thinking also how we're going to manage the folder structure, especially when it comes to considering we're doing unit tests also, we're going to be doing end-to-end tests. Where we're going to put those files, are they going to be in a completely other separate folder which follows the same structure of our current system, or are we putting them all sort of in the same folder and naming them appropriately? Don't know yet. So yeah, I've got to figure that out. That's open for discussion too. So hopefully on Discord this week, I will essentially ask everyone how everyone would do it, what's sort of best practice and stuff like that. What annoys people, what doesn't annoy people. Because at the moment, our Vue unit tests sit in a separate folder that sort of replicates the folder structure of our Vue components. Does make it hard to actually determine which component is missing its unit tests and stuff like that if you were to look at them. And yeah, but having everything all in one folder can clutter the folder very, very quickly, and then you end up having a lot of subfolders. So yeah, it's up for discussion. All right, getting back into this, localization folders reside, the functions. All right, cool. So we have set up that local in all right, oh, sorry, we're not using Webpack. All right, not a problem. So what I've got to do is figure out what they're doing here and how to get it to work for us. So export function, set up options, local English, constant, all of that kind of stuff. Export function. All right, cool. Document query HTML set attributes lang local. Also, I don't know how this is working or which file this is. All right. Probably going to skip over that. Probably going to skip over that. Compositional API. Must set to false. Okay. That's how we didn't get the T before. All right, not a problem. Not a problem. We'll end up going back and fixing that right this second. So yeah, we need to do the legacy false. That will belong in the, not the index one. They'll belong over here in the main. What we've got is, I'm just going to put this in. Legacy is going to be false. Oh, that's automatically crossed out. Deprecated, symbol used, consult. All right, cool. Alright, it means it's deprecated, meaning they must have fixed this. Meaning I could do something like this. We're just testing this out in the search. So up at the top, what I want to do, I just want to paste those back in. We're just going to have internationalization. The main title, we've got all of that at the moment. I mean, this does actually technically work. And I feel like this will be fine. It is. But I just want to double check. So I am just going to do T search.title, and then I just want to do project. I just want to do return that. And then down here, I'm just going to go P main title. All right, cool. Then we're just going to go up here. Yeah, all right, cool. I mean, that's how we would do it if we need to get access to it. In case there's a little bit more logic involved. So yeah, but otherwise, this is fine. That is perfectly fine. I am going to get rid of the stuff I don't need anymore. All right, cool. And the reason why I'm trying to get rid of everything I don't need, we're trying to shrink this down. So we've got destination. Yep, we've got all of that. We're quite happy with that. Okay. I'm going to say I'm pretty happy with that. TypeScript support, web components, optimization. This is all stuff I'll probably go through. And hey, Dashan, how are you going? Hopefully you're going well. Welcome back. How's your day been? We're looking at I can never say this word. Internationalization. So yeah, we want to actually make sure that NearBeach can be translated into other languages. Yeah, that's the short of it. We're just playing around with it today. Nothing serious. I do need to go back and actually read a lot of this documentation, do a couple of, research sessions, and figure out the best sort of pattern to put it into NearBeach, because we've got the translation of the titles very, very easily. We can easily translate the instructions on there, because the instructions will be different per object. And then, yeah, what I got to do is essentially split it up. Where's our main? So at the moment, we've just got them as global sort of stuff. We'll move that into component side of things, and we'll try and see if I can split them up even further. So when a user logs in, they're only pulling in the English if they're using English, or they're pulling in, I'm using Japanese as an example here. So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Yeah, at this moment, it's still a lot of research of what we want to do, how we want to achieve it. But best to do it in this mock-up than running ahead and realizing that it's going to take a lot of work if we screw up something. So yeah, this mock-up has been a little bit of a lifesaver for us. All right, so I'm going to say I'm okay with the internationalization at the moment. We've also figured out other stuff too. So today we figured out the meta stuff that goes down. I'm just gonna refresh. Layout was forced before the page was fully loaded. If style sheets are not yet loaded, this may cause a flash of unstylish content. Alright, cool. Legacy API mode has been deprecated in V11. Use compositional API mode instead. So I'm just reading my stuff over here. Alright. I've seen a couple of warnings. Let's tackle the warnings first, because they're just going to keep building up and cause a massive problem later, and I'd rather not have that happen. So, Legacy API mode has been deprecated in V11. Use the compositional API mode instead. Easy done. About how to use that. All right, let's just jump into here. Let's just do this. I'll pump that off to the right so you guys can see. So the introduction was set up by the Vue's composition composition API opens up new possibilities, but to be able to get the full potential out of the Vue internationalization, we will need to use a few new functions to replace access to this. we have been describing the feature of Vue internationalization using the legacy API, which is compatible with Vue internationalization v8. Now let's take a look at the latest version. So the basic usage is it'll be legacy false. You must set false. Now we tried that before and it didn't work. So if we go into the main, we've got this and it's like the create the app itself. Oh yeah, all good, all good. Lurking's perfectly fine. I do enjoy lurkers, so yes, don't worry about lurking. So that is legacy. And this will instantly complain about it. Deprecated symbol use, consult docs for better alternative. Yeah. It's going to be deprecated next version. All right, cool. So, is there a version picker I can do in here? No. All right, going back down. So we technically don't have that in there. You can now, to allow that to switch to API mode from da-da-da. All right, cool. Let's just hit refresh. Component default is recorded in path. Project new is defined using da-da-da. All right, cool. We're gonna find that one next and fix that little warning. We're not worried about the layout was forced or anything like that. I don't think that's Node.js, so yeah, definitely not gonna worry about that. All right, so going back over here. We've done that, but yeah, that's a bit annoying that it's still like that. Just go annoying me, isn't it? We still do have it there. And the types. Anyway, I'm not worried. Component default in record with path project new. So I'm just going to go into new project. We haven't set up project information either. This is just its basic sort of stuff. Write that import mypage.view instead of define async component. Component default in record. All right. The reason being is we don't have an async thing. Hang on. If we go into the routes, up here, we're all defining these components. That's all fine. Is it having a problem with this one? Wonder why it's telling me to do that. To indicates that you're using defined async component when defining a route component in Vue route, which is unnecessary and not the recommended way to achieve lazy loading components. All right, cool. Vue router has its own built-in mechanism for lazy loading route. All right, so we're going to use that then. That's perfectly fine. So Vue router lazy loading. And we're just going to open this up. We're just going to do that. We're just going to go, all right, cool. So yeah, it just wants us to do something like that. Alright, sweet. So if I put this in as reference there, what we need to do is essentially get rid of all of that. So I'm just doing that very, very quickly. We're going to break things very, very quickly. Of course, I always break things. Then we don't need the async stuff. And then if we go back over here, boom. All right, cool. And if I just refresh, yeah, the layout was forced before the page was fully loaded. If style sheets, yeah, all right, cool. We got rid of all the warnings, which I'm happy with. So yeah, that means if I change this now, all of these should load separately. If I just do a reload, oh, it's going to do a lot of the all that stuff. Give me a second. What I'm going to do, npm run build. Cool, we're happy with that. I'm just going to open up a new tab. I'm just going to cd into our dist, and I'm going to run php local server at localhost 8000. We're just going to bump over to here. We're just going to go localhost 8000. We're opening it up. We're just going to open up this also. We're going to bump that to the left. Now that I mention it, we're not going to see the warnings here because I think the compiler deals with them. That was forced. Oh no, that still does that. All right, damn. So we've got a couple of objects. Oh, we're getting really big now. But does that mean when I transfer to Kanban board, that does the search? All right. If I go to new, all right, new project. Okay, cool. Page not found. All right, sweet. So yeah, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, damn, this one's getting big. It's already at 165 kilobytes. Okay, and that must be the this library here. All right, easy, can introduce the, all right, cool. Introduce to simple translation support, localization, such, yep, all right, cool. All right. Ooh. Sorry, big yawn. Maintenance status. Yeah, we're on 11. I like how they've got that image. That's a nice little tiny image. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So yeah, I just wanted to check to see if that will work. That's working perfectly fine. I'm going to be like, sweet. We can just cancel the server. Just hide that. Actually, in fact, let's do something like that. We've done that. We've done the nested routing. We've done the dynamic matching. We've done a basic sort of translation at the moment. All right, cool. Cool, let's move on to the next thing I want to do tonight. I'm going to bump that off to the right. So yeah, I'll need to figure out how we deal with the translations. How we will tell the system that the user is English or Japanese or something like that. Yeah, I just need to figure all of that out and what process that is. bumping the thing. I might need to extend the user table to add in options. That's fine. That's something Django can do. I can then send. Yeah, all right. So I'm trying to think of how I'm going to tackle how this will all connect inside of NearBeach and so forth like that. So my idea at the moment is when a person loads up the page, it will just go boom. It'll send them the blank stuff. It then, once it gets the initial JavaScript, it will then load up. It'll ask or request user data, which will deal with the permissions and all that kind of stuff, the username and all that fun sort of stuff. In there, we can also get the language and then feed that into the document itself. Alternatively, what I could potentially do is quite literally, if the user's logged in, I can render that onto the template itself, whether they're Japanese and stuff like that, English or so forth, and then keep getting things in my throat, and then I can fetch that easily. So what I mean is, if we move this to the left, if I go here and I go window dot it's not body, it's not that, JavaScript get language. Navigator.language. We could do that. That being said, let's see if I can inspect the whole entire thing. We've got EN. Let's just put JP in there. Let's see if that changes. No, that doesn't. All right, so I can't do that. I mean, that's also an option. I could use the navigator's language to automatically do this for users, so they don't need to worry. That would be pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that will be really cool. And that's also something we could do. Yeah, all right. Because yeah, then I don't need to worry about building anything in here to do it. And I wonder how Firefox change language. Got a setting, let's go to language and appearance. All right, let's do that. Search for more languages. It would be Nihongo. I didn't add it in. Nihongo, add, go okay. All right, so now if I go over here and I do it, I might need to refresh. No, I don't need to translate, but thank you. Nah. This might be test. Yeah. All right. JavaScript get browser language. To obtain the user's preference language settings in the browser using JavaScript, the navigator option is used. That's what we did. Yeah, Nihongo. Alright, so we've done that one. Alright. Navigator.language. Yeah, it's going to do that. Navigator languages. It's going to do that. Does this mean that I've got to open up a private browser to find out if this happens? So navigator.language. Yeah, it's still like that. Alright, that's not working for me. Which means I probably got to pick a way how a user can actually quickly change languages. Especially on first time login and so forth like that. Alright. So I'm just having a think how I want to actually tackle that. I've got a couple of ideas, but also it would be great if I could use the browser to do this. Browser JavaScript not updating navigation language. I can't spell. All right. Yeah. This is a bad idea. A better idea is to detect the browser's language, which is possible to do reasonably well. Now they've got, now that's for Internet Explorer. I don't think that will work here. So navigator dot, yeah, that's just the user agent. That's perfectly fine. We're not supporting Internet Explorer. There's no way. that thing's been dead. All right, I'm actually going to do something. And Scotty B, how are you going? We're going to put this as the Japanese language. We're going to... Oh, I can't close it. Because everything is on... Alright, I'm going to have to do this in Chrome. Yeah, it doesn't even pick up the... Alright, cool, not a problem. Shoot. Give me a second. Alright. And that all sounds Nihongo. There we go. We want It really should be Australian English. But hey, that's fine. All right, cool. So I'm not going to touch that for a little while. I've got to go back into here. We'll just open up the link over here. Cool. We're happy with that. We're going to open up Chrome. We're going to do this in Chrome. I just want to see if this is plausible and why it isn't working in Firefox. So, I've got to finish update. All right, Chrome is out of date. All right, reinstall Chrome. All right. Who cares? Actually, no, who cares? I'm just going to ignore you for the moment because I hardly ever use you. Let's go into language. All right, add language. What we want is Japanese. That will be... There we go. We're going to add that in. We are... Move to top. All right, we're going to leave that there. I'm going to leave it like that. We're just going to open up this. I'm going to bump that off to the left. There we go. We're going to go into console, and I'm going to go navigation.languages undefined navigator, sorry. And yet it works here. Not having a good night? Oh, I'm sorry about that, Scotty B. Oh, what happened? Alright, so it looks like Firefox has a bug where it doesn't update this, which is really, really annoying. Because that would be a cool feature if I could implement that, where if a user logs in, goes to NearBeach, and we support that language, we automatically support that language. And the user doesn't need to change anything. But if they want to change their language, then they'll go through the system and so forth like that. So, yeah. But that's fine. All right, cool. I've got a lot more research to do. But in the meantime, we want to move on to VueJS. And let's go into getting started. Summit panes work. Oh, damn. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. That sucks. Aw. I'm assuming you had some time off work. All right, we're just going to go over here. We're just going to install it very, very quickly. There we go. We're just going to bump it up right into dev. All right. In here, I'm just going to do this so you guys can actually read as I go along. So we've just installed it. I recommend that you install a copy of VTest in your package.json using one of the methods listed above. However, if you would prefer to run VTest directly, you can use npx VTest. All right, we want to actually include it. Writing a test. So we've got the sum, and then we've got the sumtest.js. So, yep, we'll be doing something similar to that. I think we've also got a describe functionality disabled. Have been since 2018 due to some problems. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Scotty B. Yeah. Pain can be horrible. It really can. And I understand that. So I'm hoping it alleviates soon and you can get some decent rest. So yeah. Sorry to hear that. Alright, getting back into this npm run test. Yep. So we can configure VTest. I'm just going to minimize everything. I don't know if I have. All right, cool. Environment, JS DOM. We're excluding config, defaults exclude, we're excluding end-to-end. Now this is where we've got to figure out where we want to put our tests, whether we have it in here or we have it next to each component itself as a spec. I'm kind of leaning on the spec idea, just so we could, that way I don't have multiple folders open, it's all in one sort of spot. It's easier to do that way. Importing each component, it's in the same directory, so I won't have a problem where I need to build up aliases and have a long sort of thing. So I'm going to say, yes, let's put it here. Now we need it as a TypeScript sort of thing, so we need to go and go into, I'm just going to go new file. We're going to have, for example, we won't use dashboard as an example. That's a terrible example. We want the nav. So we don't need to worry about the interface. That's perfectly fine. What we want to do is we want to include a file. We want to go, I'm going to say nav component. Actually, first off, let's actually do the stores, because we can quickly do the store. So we can go nav.spec.ts, like so. We've done the config. I'm just going to close everything. We're going to open up the spec. We're going to open up the config. File to new path. And hey, Sherry, how are you? Kuzo went to America. Ah, that's kind of cool. You'll have to update me as to live or for a holiday. And how have you been? Hopefully you've been well. How is the weather in Japan? It is cold still here. It is 13 degrees outside. And last night it was freezing. I was not expecting it. All right, so I'm just going to bump these out like this. And I'm going to bump that out like that. All right, so what I want to do is we got the exclude defaults. Yep, we got all of that end to end. Yeah, we're excluding everything in the end to end. We've got all those tests. Very good. Japan is 7 degrees Celsius, so a bit cold. Yes, all right. You win there. You definitely win there. Holy hell, that is cold. You guys will be getting snow soon. We don't get snow where we are, sadly. But I wouldn't mind going back to like Japan when it snows. I wouldn't mind it being spring here. That would be nice. We had one hot day. Sadly, most of my tomatoes have died because of the cold, which is very upsetting. But yeah. Alright, where was I? I am doing tests. I think this is fine. I think I need to set up coverage, and I might do that right now. So view test coverage, coverage guide. I'll do this so you guys can view. Essentially, yeah, we go test coverage provider. So test up here, we go coverage. And then we go provider. And I'm just going to pick the V8 as default for the moment. I've forgotten what my mockup one did. I'm just going to go... Do I have my mockup one on here? Give me a couple of seconds. We've got the view test bed. I've got the number picker. I'm just going to open that up very, very quickly. The reason being is I did a bunch of tests already for, which one is this one? This is the number picker. So I'm opening it up on that. I'm just going to bump that over there. I did a bunch of tests already. So for this number picker as a test. So we've got the browser enabled, provider playwright instances. Ooh, all right, so that's also what I've done. I'm going to copy that, and I am going to do something like that. There we go. So we've got browser, all of that sort of setup, coverage. Yep, we've got the coverage. Provider V8, yep, cool. And then in here, what I've also got is I've separated the tests out into their own thing, whereas now I should be putting them in there. So that, all right, cool. And then in here, we've just got tests and stuff like that. I don't know if we can break them down and have describe then tests, which might be better. I have ordered in a book, which will arrive Friday, hopefully, which does go into detail about how I've got to set all of this up. So, yeah. Cool. I'm going to say I'm happy with this. It's going to complain I need to install Playwright. It's going to tell me how to install it and all that kind of stuff. And we do want to actually install Playwright. And I think we've already got it, considering I've got the config for it. All right, so we've got that. Istanbul. We've got to actually install this coverage. So we've got to go over here. We've got to do this. We've got to paste that in. We're just installing it. It shouldn't take too long to install. And then, oh, code error, unable to resolve dependency tree. Okay. I'm using an older version of VTest. I want to move that up to 4. Okay, not a problem. Let's just remove the node modules. I'm also going to remove the package lock, and we're going to upgrade some packages. This is dangerous, everyone. Very, very dangerous. Vite, this is actually having an issue because we can't get that at the moment, nor can we get that. That's not a problem. We're going to reinstall stuff. Yeah, we're just going to go through here. We're going to Vite test. Oh, Vite. All right. I'm going to have a look at the package log in here. Oh no, we're using Vite test down here. We're using Vue. All right. When did this come out? 18 hours ago. Did 4 just recently come out? 2 weeks ago. All right. All right. This is new. All right, cool. So I'm just going to go upgrade Vite. Test. 2.4. Migration guide. We're just going to do this very, very quickly. Let's get this sorted. So V8 code coverage, major changes. This is, all right, I'm going to say this is perfectly fine. Once again, this is at the early mock-up stage. I don't care if I break the program itself. We'll just scroll down, include packages, exclude some packages. Yep, all right, cool. These options are removed now. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm just going to update the Vite test. just going to do the latest. Initialization, that one's fine. The view, I think that one's fine. The Vite also, I just want to have a look at Vite.dev. It is 7.2. So I'm going to update that. I think that's all I needed to do. Because yeah, I kind of want to set everything to the latest version. We want to sort of build up this npm install. So by the time we actually get to implementing it for NearBeach, it's got the latest sort of packages. And then when we actually get to the end of actually finalizing 0.32, we'll update all the packages again, make sure everything runs, do the final crunch, and that way it's at the latest and greatest. And hopefully we don't need to refactor a few things. So yeah, some things I do want to do is sort of implement more frequent patches. Yeah, I'm just going to figure out how I'm going to do that. I'm pretty sure someone's come up with something before. So npm list packages needing updating, packages with patches. npm check packages if needed. Alright, cool. npm outdated, there we go. And then we can check every module defined in see if there's a newer version, for example. Yep, alright, cool. npm update. Why didn't I just run that? If you're confident if this is desirable. Alright, npm update, let's do it. We'll break everything. Ooh, unsupported engine package. Retest requires node or 24. Current node is 23. Alright, not a problem. Do I have n installed? Yes, I do. I will go n latest sudo n sudo n install latest. Alright, cool. And then n version, node version. Sweet. So npm update. Now we might need to update npm. No. All right. So added one package, remove one package, change one package, ordered it in 4 seconds. Cool. So npm install should be perfectly fine. That should just be like sweet. All right. Cool. I don't know why I didn't know about npm update. All right. Oh, hold on. We'll need the save flag too. npm update save. npm update and then save. Sweet. All of this is great. Yep, and yeah, we've got the latest and greatest now. All right. Let's go back into here. Now this is throwing up an issue because this is vtest is the latest one. We want to go back into getting started and we'll work from the 4.0 docs. In here we've got that config export default define config, and that's how it's set up now. Export default, and that's merge config. Ooh. What am I merging it with? Oh, I'm merging it in with this one. Oh, that's why. Because, yeah, you put all of this into one file, but we've separated this out. Otherwise, the file gets too large. Alright. So, we've got test. I'm just wondering... For default, define alert. No, that's not the problem. But that does help to make it a little bit more readable. I'm gonna have a look at the vtest sort of stuff. I'm just gonna close all of those because we're done with them. So we're gonna go vtest merge config now, configuration. All right, cool. What we want is we need okay, import all of that, define merge config, define config. It's open bracket object. Yes, we've done all that. And hold on. I'll do that so you guys can read. When using separate vtest config JS, you can also extend the bytes option from another config file if you need. Worst case scenario, we decide we don't want to do this because it's too complicated and we're giving up right away. If your vconfig is defined as a function, you can define the config like this. Oh, all right. If it's defined as a function, no, it's export default. Don't know why I put a breakpoint there. I got it like that. All right. Yeah. All listed options on the page are located within the test property of the config. Yep. All right. Okay, so we've got the vtest config. That's all export default. Yep. Yeah, we've got that merge conflict define. I tell you what, worst case scenario, we're just going to comment that out. It's not a problem. So we want to export default. We don't want to define it yet. We want to merge config. We've got the vt config right here. Then we need to define the config, and we're just going to define it like that for the moment. Now that's not having any problems whatsoever. So we're just going to have the test in there. We're going to put in the browser. We want enabled is true. We want the provider to be playwright. And we want the instances to be, at the moment, we're just going to go browser Chromium. Now it's having a problem with this, which just makes me think it's not going to be a problem. Oh, it's a type mismatch. All right, I'm gonna come back to this. I'm hearing a cat meow. I'll be back in a second. I just got to investigate this. Hey. sorry about that. Here is Petty. He's like, yeah, help me. Yes. Oh, it's okay, buddy. All right, so I've got a type problem. Oh, Socks is coming back in. I've got to hide Patty. Socks? Alright, Socks is back. Whoa! Alright, so if it is a type thing, alright, view test, test, TypeScript, merge examples. All right, let's just open up that. That's what we essentially got, and it's throwing up issues. Define that, and then this merge config, shared config, define project. Yeah, that's... All right, so why is this having problems? Right, doesn't have a problem with this. All right, coverage, provider, V8. Oops. It's maybe the browser that's the problem. All right, I'm just gonna delete all of this, not a problem. We're just gonna do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna comment out that. And it looks like it's the browser. All right, so this might not be relevant. Yeah, all right, cool. Not a problem. We found what it is. Easy done. V-test, browser mode. Might be something different now. Hence it's throwing up issues. So, the browser mode, this page provides information about the browser mode feature in the V-test API, which allows you to run your tests in the browser natively, provided access to the browser globals like Windows and Document. All right, cool. Which is kind of what we want. It's a good GUI sort of thingy to do. V-test init browser. Oh. Installation. For easier setup, you can use the V-test init browser. All right, I'm gonna do that. Unless we've manual installation. All right, cool. Yeah, we'll just manually install it. That's perfectly fine. We just go over here. We just do the wrong thing. We insert it like that. Okay. Should be installed. Famous last words. Manually install. So we've done that. You can also install the package manually. VTest always requires the provider to be defined. If you choose either Preview, Playwright, or WebDriver, we're using Playwright. If you want the Preview test suite, just use the Preview mode. Oops. Sorry, I will uninstall that one, the browser preview. I don't know which one it is. Oh, that's not my package management system. All right. Here's a link to the dev tools, the prettier post. All right, this is, I don't know which one it is. Right, not a problem. Okay, one package installed at vtest. All right, so that's at vtest play. All right, we're getting rid of this one line because the users won't need it. All right. Configuration to activate the browser mode in vtest, the browser.enable field. All right, and this is where I think this will start to work. Because now we've got, didn't like that, did it? No, it didn't. All right, this is under test browser. Yeah, test browser provider enabled instances. Yes, we've got all that correct. VTest assign port to alert to avoid conflicts with the development server. Allowed it. All right, cool. Import playwright. If you have not used Vite before, make sure that you have the framework plugin installed. All right, cool. Oh, I think I need to put this up here. And then they've got it so provider as playwright, like that. Now it doesn't have a problem. Sweet. All right, we're getting there. We are getting there. All right, so tests. All right, projects, tests. All right, cool. We won't need to worry too much about any of that. I think I've got that mostly set up. Now what I want to do is I want to go back to nav spec and let's do a couple of tests. So Pinia, we want, because we're using Pinia, we're going to do unit tests. All right, we're going to do that. So in a sense, so unit testing a store, a unit test a store, the most important part is creating Pinia instance. So this is, we're just going to copy this. If you have any store plugins, there is one important thing to know: plugins won't be used until Pinia is installed in an app. This can be solved by creating an empty app or a fake one. All right, cool. Sweet. All right, cool. Unit testing components. So Pinia, we need testing. Yeah, we need that one installed. We're just going to quickly install that. Oops, I'm going to close this one now because that one's pretty much all tested. All right. Make sure to create a testing Pinia in your tests when mounting components. So mount to test utils. All right, cool. So wrapper, counter, global plugins, use some store. All right. I'm gonna scroll back up to the tests, and what we're gonna do, we're just gonna copy that. We're just gonna go in here and we're just gonna paste it in like that. And what I want to do is I want to do. All right. Yeah. All right. Cool. I don't think we've got describe or anything like that, but we'll do this very, very quickly. So we've got our stores. This will actually be the nav.spec.ts. We've got the set active Pinia, create the Pinia from Pinia. This is, oops, wrong shortcut. We've got to do that, and then it'll be import, and it'll be use nav store instead. Now, another thing you might want to see is that we've got describe, so we need to import describe. and I think test. We're using describe and test. Oh, not from playwright. This is why I shouldn't have closed that up there. All right, new window. We're just gonna do that again. I'm gonna put this over here. We've got the number tests up here. We've got the test, and that comes from vtest. So that will go up to the top. So import test and expect from not chai, but a vtest. All right, like that. Ooh. Oh, we're not using it. That's why. Now I don't know if they've also got describe. But I want to when to describe it, when to describe it and test. All right, let's find this out because I don't know. Piss. Describe it and test keywords are commonly used in testing frameworks to organize and write tests. Here are a breakdown of these keywords in context of by test and testing libraries. So describe. The describe keyword is used to group related tests together. It takes a name and a function that contains a group of tests. This helps in organizing and categorizing tests based on their functionality or specific components. In the provided code example from Robin, or I can't pronounce that. Let's not lie. So describe app groups all the tests related to the app component. All right, cool. So we might do this at the nav sort of level. It and tests. Both it and test keywords are used to define individual tests. They can be used interchangeably depending on personal preference or the testing framework being used. All right, cool. So I can just use test. And what I could do is then I could sort of break it down. So if I got a component, I might have a couple of smaller sections of that component and use different describes in there to do that. That should be fine. Render function. All right, cool. Yep, I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. So what I want to do is I want to go describe, and then I'm just going to put nav store. I could go stores nav, actually show the path of the file itself. Once again, I'm not married to how any of this is set up. If anyone's got a better way of doing this, let's hear it. Now, we do have a before each that we've got to deal with. Now, that is part of the test. So, before each, and once again, what we do here is we set active pinyar, and then we go create pinyar. I'm happy with that. And then what we want to do is test. And this is, I think, where we describe exactly what we're testing. So, are you okay there, Patty? Are you just causing trouble now, or are you just lonely? He's like, I want to know, he sucks. Alright, so what do I want to test with this store? If I open up the nav store itself, there's not much in here. We've got a value and we've got an action. And that's it. This is as simple as it gets. This is it. So what we want to do is we want to boot it up. We want to make sure the nav is open is true. So we purposely set it as true. We double check that it is true. We then toggle it and make sure it's then false. And then we do the opposite of that. So make sure the toggle function toggles the is nav open. Is nav open from true to false. Now that's it. That's what we're doing. So we set the test. we do something like this, and then in here, what we want to do is we're going to go const. This will just be nav, and we'll go use nav store. Easy done. Nav to be true by default. So we're expecting nav to be true by default. So expect, and then we go nav is nav open. To be true by default, dot to be, and then we're just going to do true, and then toggle the this is where we want to use the proper toggle nav. So make sure the toggle nav function changes or updates the. So what I want to do, activate the toggle nav action, and we go, this is nav dot toggle nav. We just do it like that. Expect is nav open to be false now. So now we're going to nav. Sorry, we're going to go expect nav is nav open to be, and then we'll just type in false. So I'm happy with that. And essentially now we do the opposite case. We go test, make sure the toggle nav function updates the is nav open from true to false. Just do it like that. Yeah, we do something like that. Update the is nav open to false. So what we want to do is we want to go nav dot is nav open. We're just going to say false. We're just updating it, and then we have to expect that it will be like that. So expect nav dot is nav open to be false. Activate the toggle nav action. All right, and then that'll be nav dot toggle nav, and then we will go expect is nav open to be true now. So we need to expect nav dot is nav open to be true, not to be false. So this is very, very simple. We're just doing both sort of cases just in case. This is an very, 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 very simple one. Yeah, but it's a good place to start. So if I go over here and I go npm run unit test, npm run test unit. There we go. It will actually do this. So I'm going to zoom in for you guys. I do apologize about the bright. I'm just going to hit that. There we go. All right. I am also going to bring this over. So this is why I wanted to install the browser stuff, because this just makes this look a lot friendlier and nicer whenever I'm going to test and so forth like that. This is kind of what I want to have it do. All right, so we can see that it's failed the app and mount renderers. We're going to fix that test in a minute. What we've got here is, in here, we've got the breakdown. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so this looks a little bit nicer. We've got the source stores nav spec. So because it's like that, I'm going to change my description. Nav stores nav check toggle nav action works. All right, there you go. We're grouping stuff up. There you go. This does this instantly. So that's because it takes 2 milliseconds. So that's working pretty well. And then here we've got all the tests, and then all tests pass fine in this. I think that's as far down as we can break it. I don't know what the browser UI is doing at the moment, but that's perfectly fine. We will ignore that for the moment. Oh, I think that shows the component screen and so forth like that. So if I click on app, mounts the app properly, get active pinata was called, but there's no active pinata. All right, yeah, we'll fix that up in a minute. So this should be fine. Let's go over into the app itself. Oops, wrong one. So we've got the app, but I also don't know where those tests are kept. I'm gonna, famous last words, I'm gonna close that. I know I'm gonna have to open it up soon. So we've got source, test, and then app spec. And yeah, as discussed before, I'm probably not gonna have it like that. Okay. We can probably move that into source. Refactor, yeah, that's fine. That folder can now be deleted. We've then got a problem in here, which we know we've got a problem in here. We just do that. All right. So the trick to this. Alright, there is a... Yeah, we want the... Sorry, we want the describe to be like that. I just want to call it test. I want to be consistent. So mounts and renders properly. So const wrapper, mount wrapper, to contain. Now that's going to fail. We're just going to undo that at the moment. We're just going to go expect true to be true. All right, we're just faking it till it makes it. All right, that failed. Not a problem. We're going to exit out of that. We're going to quit out of that, and we're going to run the test again. It's going to open up this. It didn't work. We're going to put on this mode. We're going to go click on the mount. So get active pinata was called, but there is no active pinata. Are you trying to use a store before calling app use pinata? All right, so outside component usage, HTML for help. We're going to copy that. We're going to go all the way over here. We're going to right hand click, and we're going to, what the hell? Okay. I do find all the bugs. Alright, I might put that one in tonight. Pinata stores rely on Pinata instance to share the same store instance across all calls. Most of the time, this works out of the box by calling your use store functionality. For example, setup You don't need to do anything else, but things are a little bit different outside of the component. Behind the scenes, you store, yada, yada, yada. All right, cool. If we go into the app view itself, I am using the store in it. So we aren't using the store. And what are we doing with the store? On mounted, if the, all right, cool. So, what the app does is the app will look at this, look at the user's screen width to determine if by default, when they load on the page, to have the nav bar open or not. By default, no. It doesn't matter if it's on an iPad or anything like that, that will be open and then the user will be able to interact it to shut. There's a lot more space for that freedom there. All right, so what I want to do is now I want to go into the app spec. We actually want to put this in here correctly. So we've got this, we've got the tests. I'm going to have to fix up the prettier stuff in a minute. This is annoying me. We want to mount some test render. All right, so we've got to do this the exact same way we did the nav stuff. So we've got described, we want to import. Another thing I've got to do is, this will be just that. And then this will be set active pinia. This will be create pinia from pinia. We want to import the use nav store from. This would be great if I had that built in stores. This will be nav.ts. It'll be nav, won't it? Yeah, it'll be nav. From here, we need the mount and the app. And then before each, we need to set active pinia with the create pinia. And then like that. We need the before H2. Oops. Oh. Oops. I thought that would have done something else, but that's my bad. Before H. That will import like that. So create the pinia, we'll do the tests. We've got the wrapper. Now, I'm assuming I don't need to do anything more. Cannot read property of undefined reading path. All right, cool. That's fine. I just want to go back up here. I just want to do that and then do something like that. In fact, I'm just going to comment that out because I don't know if we need the stores. Cannot read properties of undefined reading path. Source components, skip links dot view. I think I know why. If we have a look at the app, it's trying to render that. But we're just doing... All right, what I want to do, I'm going to do that. All tests pass. All right, cool. So something with the wrapper wasn't quite working. I just don't know what's going on. So yeah. What I want to do is I want to go in here. We're all happy with that now. We're happy with the pinia stuff. I want to go back to the Vite test. So X defined, so we've done the getting started. I'm going to play online. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to hit this play online first. We're going to see how they've set everything up, and we're going to set up something similar. With the app test, we're not going to, because this is just unit testing, we're just testing what's on the page. We're just making sure it mounts. And I'm just wondering what we could have there. Alright, I'm just having a good think. Bear with me whilst I think about this. Alright, that's actually taking a while, jeez. Alright, I'm just going to scroll up to this one. No, I want examples. We'll open up Vitamin. Okay, so they got their tests in here. They got their app spec tests. So renders the fruit gallery, choose one. Expect tests, and then that will be the page. Go to that. Expect the. All right, they're not mounting anything. All right, not a problem. Because yeah, we had the router mount app, and that had the problem. And the problem is can't read properties of undefined reading path. Skip links. And we've got the code. Yeah, we hit here. We've got the console. I should do this for you guys. Oi, let me. Thank you. All right, view warning. Injected symbol route location was not found. Navbar menu destination settings. NearBeach. All right, cool. Symbol route location was not found. Oh, all right. All right, view router, view list, view test, location not found. Typically resolved by providing a mock router during testing. All right, let's try this out. As VTest doesn't have access to a real browser environment or a full router installed by default. To fix this, you can either stub the router link, router view components. All right, cool. Let's just go down here. Let's stop router push. All right, not what I wanted. Testing, view router. I think we saw this earlier tonight. So template, yada yada yada, props, yep. Component, yep, all right. View test utils. Oh yeah, this is what we want. But we're using vtest, not the. All right, wrapper, mount component, props. We're not sending through any props, the globals, mocks, that's what we want. All right, so with the component in here, so we've got the router, mount the app. we then got some options. So we've got the global mocks, and then we've got the dollars router mock router. Okay. I'm back here. All right, I'm just gonna, I don't know how to do this. Not a problem. Figuring this out. Better to figure it out now than later. So yeah, as we build everything up, we'll have more robust tests. All right. Mock router params ID1. Mock router equals jest fn. Now we're not using jest. We're using vtest. So I'm just going to go vtest mock router. Let's skip all the way down to the answer. I was facing the same issue and finally it didn't work. All right, cool. Push VIF from vtest. What's VI? I don't know what VI is. Mock view router async return router view nothing. Use router return push mock router. All right. All right. And technically, there's nothing on the screen. Oh, sorry. All right, cool. Before each. What's VI? Before each, we don't have a before each, we've got an after each. I'm just going to copy these very, very quickly. We're just going to paste them in here like so and hope for the best. Oh, I hate when it does that. Well, before each, we're going to go after each. And then we're going to do something like that. And then we're going to do something like that. Ah, it's pulling it out. All right. I will fix the linter next time because it is getting that annoying. All right, so we've got the cons, mock router push, all of that kind of stuff. So we want to do router. Render my component. VI mock. I guess we do that up there now. Error expected near the mocks.router. Oh, that's all done now. put on dark mode again for you guys. Ah, all right. I don't know. Failed to import test. All right, I've screwed that up. Not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah. All right. Cool. If I go over here, vtest stop component loading. Hang on. Vtest. Yeah. Stop child components loading, because we don't need to worry about the child components. So component testing. Component testing is a testing strategy. All right, yep, that focuses on individual UI components in isolation, unlike end-to-end tests, which test the entire user flows. Component testing verifies that each component works correctly on its own, making it faster to run and easier to debug. VTest provides comprehensive support to components. Yep, all right, cool. All of that is fine. We're gonna scroll down. Component critical user paths. Always test these. Error handling. Test these. Failure scenarios. Edge cases. Empty data. Yep. Accessibility. Yes, we'll be definitely testing accessibility. That is one thing which we'll need to test. Performance. Large data sets. Animations. All right. Yep. All right, so isolation strategy. So test components in isolating by mocking the dependencies. That's what we've probably got to do. So we've got the VI mock, import that, the user card, default, function, user, like all of that. Handles loading the data states. And in this sort of case, I've just got to test this because I don't want to worry about these. So I could probably mock those to being empty, because it doesn't matter what up here does. We're not sending any information down to those, so they can literally be empty. The router view. Oh, that's another thing. That might be an end-to-end test where we click on the thing to make sure it's changed the routes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's definitely a end-to-end test. Don't think that can be done here. Another thing we've got to do is, test the main class. So the main class is whether or not the nav bar is open, which defines whether or not onMounted is set. All right, cool. Yeah, this depends on the size of the window. Okay. So we're still going to do the mount that. But what we're going to do, I'm going to delete all of this. We won't expect the wrapper to have anything in it. In fact, it'll load up the dashboard. Yeah, all right, we won't test that yet. Where's my component testing? All right, cool. So for API requests, we recommend mock service worker. All right, cool. That's perfectly fine. We will be doing that soon. See that mocking, yep. VI mock import, let's say API server, fetch user, mock root. All right, cool, yep, cool. Import components, user card, set all of that default. VI. All right, we won't. Mock import user cards. We just won't have anything. Yeah. All right. So in this sort of case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the app view over there. That's just me referring to all the components and stuff like that. We've got 1, 2, 3. So mock import. We're just going to do that and that. With VI, FN, I'm going to get rid of that. There won't be any data passing through, and it's just going to be empty. This will be components. Header component. All right, cool. Yep, I'm happy with that. And then VI mock. Now, I don't know why mock is. And then the factory mocked it with helper and options. Be like that. I'm just trying to think what VI is. Oh my god, this is taking forever. Okay, not a problem. We'll keep continuing on. So that's almost correct. And then we'll just do the default. Oh, I think. Using shallow mount. All right, this is going to be a lot easier. Let's see if we've got some documentation. Mocking guide. No. I want shallow mount. Oh, that's part of the view tests tool set. Somewhere around there. So we've got the shallow mount. We don't need the, actually we will need the expect. Then we won't need the VI. Then I don't need to worry about everything because I'm only focusing on this particular one. In cases where, for example, the navbar menu where we've got the skeleton and so forth like that, where we want to test to make sure that's still working, we'll probably do that. Where we mount it, everything and so forth like that. But in this sort of case, we're happy with this. And then what I want to do, expect true to be true. I'm going to undo this particular one. It's going to be false because we don't have you did it on there. We're going to go over here. We're going to run the unit tests like so. This is going to pop up like this. I'm going to hit that little button on there. So we have assert error, expected double quote to contain you did it. All right. There's nothing on that page whatsoever. What I'm going to do is, as a test, I'm going to put hello world in as a header one. And we're just going to go hello world. Expected you did it, received hello world. So in this sort of case, for this to actually work, we'll get rid of it. I just wanted to see if hello world popped up on this little screen here. It did not, which is annoying. Wonder if I can inspect that little tiny frame itself. No, I can't. That's even more annoying. The view little thing popped up there. Oh, yep, we've got all of that. So we've got the app, skip links, those are all blanked out. That's all good. Okay, cool. So, what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of that one. This just mounts and renders. All right, cool, that's easy. It's going to be a 0 screen. Then we get rid of that. We then get that passed the test. And then what I want to do is, all right, cool. We've got some tests. We've got the hello world test here. So that's async, renders the name. So gets by text, get by role, render, hello world, props, vtest, wait, expected element, get by test, to be in the document. Yep. Yep. Cool. Easy done. What I want to do now is I just want to close all of those. I want to open up a new one and I want to go view test different mobile screen sizes. I should say vtest, not view test. So it's different mobile screen. The vtest, you can use the JSON DOM environment mock window in editor and match media for the view to edit. All right, cool. Let's go to the docs, browser mode. So we've installed all of that. We've set up all of that. Yeah, we're happy with all of that. Example, properly handles inputs, render. Await page, get by text to be in the document. All right, cool. What about width? No, all right. Let's scroll up. I did see some view here. So render, browser view, component view. All right, properly. I'm just going to copy that very, very quickly. We're going to do a little other test in here. We're just going to go right-hand click. We're going to go in here. We're going to go app test spec.ts. We're just going to paste all of that in. We're going to modify it very, very quickly. And I've got to finish up very, very soon. This is the VTest browser. I don't think I have it installed. So one thing I've got to do, let's go over here. Let's exit out of that. Let's quit that. Let's npm install into our dev stuff. That won't take too long. And then, yeah. All right, cool. Easy done. We're just going to go back over here. So that's all done. We've got the component. We're actually not going to use that component. We're going to, import app from app. Yep, that's it. So we've got a test. Easy done. What we want to do, import test from vtest. Easy done. We're just going to, we should also do describe. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe. And then in here we're going to test test page load on mobile. Then we'll have async and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll have the const screen equals render, and then we'll have the app pass through, and then we'll have the screen dot set width. What can we do? Oh, I don't know. Alright, we'll get rid of that. We'll have a look. Alright, before each. Okay, we've got dot object. Object.define property, and we're going to go window, and then inner width equals writable true, configurable true, value 300. All right, cool. I don't know why it's true. Or anything like that. And then what we want to do, this can just belong on the other one now. I'm just going to cut this out. Okay, app view, app, mobile view, easy done. So we set all of that, and then what we want to do is, what do I want to do? I need const wrapper equals, actually I won't need the wrapper. Screen size is small. This is just a quick test. Screen size is small. Menu won't be open. Nav won't be open. Nav won't be open. So what we want to do, expect, and that will be the. This is where we need the const nav equals use nav store, which I'll need to import. We want to go down to 27 again, so that is done. So expects nav dot is nav open to be false. And we're going to run those unit tests. We're going to find out. We've got one failing. Oh no. There it is. So expected false, but it's true. All right. Oh. Now, what if I go const wrapper equals shallow mount app? Then we got some options. Or something like that. All right. Anyway, we know this doesn't work. I am going to have to go because it is 10 past 10 here almost. Let's find someone to raid. I see Theo30 is here. All right, let's go raid him. All right, cool. Anyway, thank you very much everyone for being here tonight. We are slowly getting there. Once we figure out how this testing is going to work and so forth like that, we've got, and the internationalization is going to work. I think we then continue on with the designing process, and it won't be the nav bar anymore. It'll actually be, for example, how to create a new project, how to search for a project, and how to essentially do the CRUD around a project. Once we're there, yeah, it should be a lot simpler. And yeah. Anyway, let's hit the raid button. Thank you very much, everyone. And for those on YouTube, thank you very much for being here. Sadly, you won't be able to follow us with the raid, but I do hope to see you next time.